From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. We are at the start of what is going to be one of the coldest weeks we've seen in a while. Here's a live look outside from the Stockman Bank weather cam. Bitter cold with dangerous sub-zero temperatures settling in and staying around for a while. We want to get right to Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh for the very latest on this frigid forecast, and this is some serious cold we're talking about, Ed.
Dangerously cold in many cases because of the effects that it can have on you. This is where we were last week in terms of snow depth. We had areas of western Montana, southern Montana, mainly the mountains where we expect to see most of the snow, but notice that there wasn't anything into the lower elevations, into the plains. Here's the look from the computer analysis here as of today. Virtually all of Montana, northern Wyoming with some areas of snow, just a few patches. And the snow for the mountains has been a lot heavier as well. Temperatures this morning started off anywhere into the teens, 20s. Check out 31 below, not factoring in a wind chill first thing this morning in Wolf Point. It hasn't been quite as cold in western Montana, where we did hit some 20s for the daytime highs today. But those are all reported daytime highs for this afternoon, most of them with that minus sign in front of them. And it doesn't look like we're going to see much of a change from that here in the coming days. So get ready to go for some cold. It could have effects on your health as well, so use a lot of care.
All right, thank you, Ed. Whenever those temperatures drop down below zero, the concern for frostbite goes up. Local emergency physicians are already seeing cases from this most recent cold snap. Frostbite happens when part of your body actually freezes, causes damage to the tissue, potentially leading to the loss of fingers, toes, ears, your nose, even a limb. Frostbite almost always happens when you're doing something normal, but then an accident happens or things don't go as planned and you get stuck outside longer than expected.
When you're going to notice at first your hands starting to feel tingly and then whitish in color, and those can be or stiff, and those can be some of the early signs of frostbite. I think one of the things people should watch out for is whenever the temperatures drop down below zero, particularly into the negatives, like with the wind chill, we're in the negative 20s potentially tonight, you can be developing frostbite in as little as 15 to 30 minutes.
Dr. Allen says if you think you might have frostbite, try to get inside, start warming up as soon as possible. Don't rub the affected part. That can actually cause more damage to the tissue. Put it in warm water right around 99 to 100 degrees. Let it gradually rewarm. Now, if your skin starts to form blisters or appears purplish, do seek medical attention. And Dr. Allen says even if you're just heading down the street or running to the store, make sure to bring along a coat, hat, gloves, and an extra layer of clothing. Another concern is driving if you do have to go out. Many streets are still covered in snow and others are becoming quite slick. Q2's Shaquille Cozart finds out when Billings roadways will all be plowed and easier to navigate.
Well, after a few days of snow in Billings, it's no surprise that it might be a little difficult to get around. But if you're wondering when some main and residential streets will be plowed, then there may be some answers.
So we pick what we call the main streets. That would be 24th, Grand, Central. The easiest way to think about it is just the busiest streets in town. We hit those ones first.
Miller said the smaller, less busy streets in town will be taken care of next. People may have also noticed snow being packed in the middle of main streets. According to Street and Traffic Superintendent, this is the most effective way to clear the roadways.
So by the time we take the time to clear for every drive approach, it takes a long time to clear all those driveways. So what we do is we pile the snow into the center of the street. Unfortunately, it doesn't allow access to every single business, but we just kind of hope for the help from people to get around that. Use the other side streets to get around, turn around, and go back to the business.
At this point, the budget for plowing is looking good, according to Miller, as this is the first major snow event. He said this can change, however, depending on future snowfall this winter. But with the amount of snowfall over the weekend, plowing and snow removal will take some time.
Snow event, it's looking like it's going to take probably a week, maybe a couple days longer than a week to get through the entire city. But you're talking over 1,200 lane miles that have to be plowed, in the residential areas and then the mains. And so you take a snow event that lasts for 3 days, we have to go over the same area multiple times to keep the snow out and then spread the salted sand. So it just does take a lot of time.
Reporting in Billings, I'm Shaquille Cozart with MTN News.
Thanks, Shaquille. And Miller says that people can find updates for when a plow will be in their area on the Streets Billings Facebook page. Tomorrow, Donald Trump will become the first president to face a second impeachment trial in the Senate. He's accused of inciting the deadly January 6th attack on the Congress. Natalie Brand reports from Capitol Hill.
For the second time, U.S. senators will serve as jurors in the impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump. But this one will be historic since he is no longer in the White House.
The structure we have agreed to is eminently fair.
Senate leaders on Monday announced a deal on the rules, format, and timing.
It preserves due process and the rights of both sides.
The trial will begin Tuesday afternoon with a debate, then a vote on the constitutionality of an impeachment trial of a former president. Opening arguments are slated to begin at noon on Wednesday. House managers and Mr. Trump's lawyers will each get up to 16 hours over 2 days to make their cases. Senators will then be allowed to submit written questions and could vote on whether to allow witnesses or admit new evidence. Aides say the former president will be following the trial closely, but will not testify or provide any statements.
We already know how this is going to turn out. I mean, there's no chance that there's actually going to be a conviction.
A conviction would require at least 17 GOP senators joining all Democrats. Last month, the majority of Republicans in the Senate supported an effort to dismiss the impeachment trial. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The former president's first impeachment trial lasted 21 days and ended with him being found not guilty by the Senate in a 52-48 vote. Well, CBS News will provide updates throughout the day here on Q2, but you can also watch uninterrupted coverage from Court TV all day tomorrow on the Q2 streaming app beginning at 11 a.m. And to learn more about the streaming app, visit ktvq.com/streaming. Riverstone Health, in connection with St. Vincent Healthcare, is planning a mass community vaccination clinic for those in Phase 1B. 975 doses of the Pfizer vaccine will be available. The community clinic will be held next week at Metro Park. Days and times are yet to be determined. Yellowstone County has to decide how those in Phase 1B can get registered. Phase 1B consists of those 70 and older and those ages 16 to 69 with high-risk medical conditions. Well, COVID cases in Yellowstone County continue to trend down, but health officials are warning not to let your guard down. They say a viral illness like COVID tends to move in waves. Hospitalizations are down to 30 from 150 during the height of the pandemic. Health Officer John Felton says that's promising news. And on top of that, people tend to be eager about getting the vaccine because demand is extremely high. But supply remains low. He says the state is working hard to try and increase that supply.
Hopefully we'll continue to see the improvements we've seen, and that next month when we stand here we can talk about another good month. It's up to all of us to do our part, and I'm happy to say that right now we're doing well, and hopefully we'll continue that.
The volume of requested tests has also come down as the prevalence of the disease in the community comes down. Felton also says the county's test positivity rate has been under 10% for the last 5 weeks now. Well, Montana State University has finally zeroed in on its next head football coach. MTN's Ashley Washburn has the latest.
The process took a little over 2 weeks, but Montana State has finally found their guy. The university announced Monday afternoon that Brent Vigen will be the Bobcats' next head coach, replacing Jeff Choate, who left the program last month for a job at the University of Texas to be their co-defensive coordinator. Vigen is coming from the University of Wyoming, where he spent time serving as the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. He was tabbed as the associate head coach in 2017 and helped guide the Cowboys to bowl games in 3 of their last 4 full seasons. But prior to joining head coach Craig Bull in Wyoming, he was Bull's offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at North Dakota State, helping the Bison win 3 FCS national championships. But along with his impressive resume, Vigen is known nationally for his ability to identify and mentor successful quarterbacks. He was the primary coach in recruiting and developing Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen to Wyoming and Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz to North Dakota State. And as far as the Bobcats' current coaching staff, it's still unclear whether Vigen will be bringing anyone along with him, but Montana State did prioritize keeping their current staff together. We will, of course, update you if anything changes, and as of right now, his first game as head coach just happens to be against the University of Wyoming, which is set for September 4th. Reporting in Bozeman, Ashley Washburn, MTN Sports.
All right, still ahead on the MTN News at 10 here on Q2. Legislators set to take up an anti-union bill that could turn Montana into a right-to-work state. We'll have details on that coming up. And a little later in sports, the Skyview Lady Falcons have upset on their minds as they prepare to face off against the defending champs. We'll hear from one of the keys to maybe pulling off that upset in just a bit.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Next week, the legislature is scheduled to hear a bill that would turn Montana into a right-to-work state, a move bitterly opposed by labor unions. But as MTN's Mike Dennison reports, it's one of several bills before the legislature that would make it harder for unions to collect dues or fees from members and non-members alike.
First, let's talk about the term right to work and what it means. Essentially, most right-to-work laws say any union that bargains a contract for a group of workers cannot charge any dues or fees to workers within that group who don't want to join the union. Representative Caleb Hinkle of Belgrade, a Republican, is sponsoring the main right-to-work bill, which is scheduled for its first hearing next week.
I don't view it as anti-union at all. No union that provides legitimate benefits should have to fear workers having a choice on whether to take those benefits, unless that member wants to join that union and pay those fees. All this does is give them that choice.
At least two other related measures making it harder for labor unions to collect dues from workers also are before the session. One of them, Senate Bill 89, would prohibit any government employer from allowing a payroll checkoff to collect dues from union members. The sponsor, Republican Senator Keith Regier of Kalispell, says the government shouldn't be involved in collecting dues for groups actively involved in partisan politics. But union reps say dues money does not support a union's political activity, and that government employers allow all kinds of payroll checkoffs.
It's amazing to me that it's still okay for the state government and public, employers to collect contributions to the National Rifle Association, but they're going to say it's not appropriate for a worker to be able to sign an agreement and have their dues deducted and sent to their union.
Union officials also say the right to work bill is clearly meant to undermine organized labor by allowing workers to benefit from union contracts but not support the union financially. That's not a good thing for the state, they say.
Success of unions and the size of unions historically in every economic measure goes hand in hand with the success and the size of the middle class.
Hinkle says companies want to relocate or expand in right-to-work states, meaning better economic outcomes for Montana in the future. In the past, bills like these have failed in Montana. But with big Republican majorities and a GOP governor, supporters hope the politics are different this time around. Curtis, the president of Montana's largest union, says she'd like to know what Governor Gianforte thinks of these efforts. Whenever we've asked the governor about right to work, he said only that it's not one of his priorities for now. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Well, none of these bills has had a debate or vote yet on the floor of the House or the Senate. Up next in weather, we are certainly in the deep freeze. How far will those temperatures fall and how long will they stick around? Ed has that answer with the full 7-day forecast coming up after the break.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with meteorologist Ed McIntosh.
Welcome back as we take a live look here this evening. Temperatures stayed cold all day long. We started off at 13 below zero and only made it up to 3 below zero by the time we started getting later in the afternoon. Sunset now at 5:31. That's a little bit later in the day. We picked up that light powdery snow. It really wasn't enough to get an official measurement from the airport, but it did total up to 3/100ths of an inch of total precipitation. So that adds a little bit more to what we've seen so far this year. Across the region now with the Stockman Bank weather cam, we're sitting at a very cold 7 below, but with the east breeze, even at 5 miles an hour, it drives the wind chill value down to feeling like 18 below. So it has that effect of pulling away that warmer air from around your body and making things colder. Taking a look at some of the photos that you shared with us today. This one was just a little more fun for us because everybody's been dealing with the slick roadways out there, and it says Billings residents trying to figure out who is the worst driver. And pretty much pointing the finger at everybody else. That's the way it works. The only good news is here is that everybody's wearing their mask. Temperatures this evening are into the single digits below zero across the northern portion of the country, and then single digits from around Denver all the way over to Kansas City up towards Chicago. And that's without adding any wind chill. But it shows you this area where this really cold air has dug in as the jet stream is moving down from the Pacific Northwest, dragging some of those clouds, and then starts to make that little U-turn as it starts to move up towards the northeast. So with the cold air continuing to drop in, we're just not going to shake this chill for a while. It's going to stick around throughout the week. Cold enough in the morning that we have wind chill warnings along the High Line. All of these areas in those light gray shaded regions, the northernmost counties of the state, once we look east of the Continental Divide, have the potential of 50 to 55 below zero wind chill values first thing in the morning. And we'll be looking at all the blue shaded areas, which blankets everywhere except a few counties in southern and western Montana, with the potential of minus 40-degree wind chill values, especially when you look at 36 below for a wind chill right now in Havre and Glasgow at the same reading, along with Jordan. 34 below is what it feels like in Glendive. 37 below in Williston, North Dakota. And we're just getting started with the evening where the temperatures have settled in. A lot of readings already at 21 below in Havre. 14 below in Great Falls and Cutbank, not factoring in that wind chill. Well, it's not quite as cold around Missoula. We do have some of the haze. We do have some limited visibility as well, so keep that in mind as far as travel conditions go. Jet streams to our south. The light snow showers have been easing up since this afternoon, and we'll see a little light powdery snow off and on over the course of the next couple of days, especially once we start looking from Wednesday into Thursday. We'll get a little bit of moisture streaming over the cold air that'll produce more of that light powdery snow, especially in western and southern Montana. For areas across the northern portion of the state, it's really just a measure of how cold will it stay. Well, so we'll look at slowly building up some of these snow totals over the course of the next few days. A band of a little heavier snow is possible, but for the most part, it's just going to be that little annoyance snow you have to keep sweeping off. Temperatures in the morning will be mainly into the teens and even a couple of 20s below zero, with those bitter cold wind chills to go along with it. And then tomorrow, much like today, we'll look at the single digits above and below zero by later in the afternoon for the warmest readings. So here's how it looks for us. Temperatures will start off in the teens below zero, and it'll be another sub-zero day across the region. As we take a look at the extended outlook, those temperatures stay below zero in the afternoon, teens then even 20s below zero. And even though the temperatures try to warm up a little bit towards the end of the weekend and early next week, Russ, it's going to come with a bit of wind, and that's going to keep a lot of those wind chill readings very cold with some blowing snow. Back to you.
Guess I'm not going to be back on the golf course anytime soon. Well, straight ahead on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2. The game was kind of a dud, especially for Chiefs fans, but how about the commercials? We'll take a look at some of the best ads from Super Bowl Sunday after the break. Well, Super Bowl Sunday was not just memorable for Tampa Bay's domination on the field, but also for the commercials. And many Americans have already weighed in on their favorites. Naomi Ruckham reports from New York.
With Rocket Mortgage, you can be certain, not pretty sure.
Comedian Tracy Morgan may well be the Super Bowl's MVP when it comes to commercials.
I'm pretty sure we could park in Joey Bosa's spot.
His two 60-second ads for Rocket Mortgage took the #1 and 2 spots in the USA Today ad meter. And that may be in large part due to Morgan's celebrity and presence on Twitter, where he urged his nearly 3 million followers to vote.
I think everything's fair game in this game. It's all about driving eyeballs to your ads.
Amazon's ad for Alexa, starring Michael B. Jordan, took 3rd place.
Alexa, how many tablespoons are in a cup?
There are 16 tablespoons in a cup.
I promise I will not eat any more of your friends. Really?
Making audiences laugh was the goal of most of the commercials, but Toyota touched audiences with an ad about Paralympic swimmer Jessica Long.
Her legs will need to be amputated.
There was also Jeep's 2-minute spot about national unity, starring Bruce Springsteen.
We need the middle.
And a commercial for Oatly oat milk featuring the company's CEO singing in a field.
Wow, wow, no cow.
Was rated as the worst on USA Today's ad meter, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
You saw everybody talking about it, and they were talking about how horrible it was, but they were still talking about it.
And for a company that's never before had a Super Bowl commercial, all the attention can't hurt. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Well, nearly 60% of those commercials featured an appearance by at least one celebrity or prominent athlete. We'll be right back. Well, Friday night brings a rematch of one of the games of the season between West and Skyview's girls. If the Falcons are going to snap a long losing streak in the series, they'll need a big performance from someone who's had a lot of them in her career. Q2's Casey Conlon has more.
Struggling for the words to describe Skyview's Brooke Berry? Let her coach help.
I've described her as a Corvette on steroids, and I'm telling you what, she is sleek. She's long, she's fast, and she's polished.
Brent Montague let Berry drive the car last year when she averaged 16 points a game, second best in the state. But now, it's her ride. Through the first half of the season, Berry leads the AA in scoring and assists, and has Skyview off to a 5-2 start, thanks to a new team mindset after the program snapped a 19-year state drought last March.
We walk into every game with confidence, knowing that we should win, or at least it should be close. I mean, there's no reason for us to be blown out or anything like it was in the previous years of the program.
I think the biggest thing is belief. You know, I think there's been a lot of, there was a lot of hope last year. I think these kids they've played a lot of basketball together, and they played a lot of good basketball. They've had valuable experience.
Berry included. The junior has been one of the best scorers in the state since she entered high school, but Montague has challenged her to become a better overall player, and it's working.
Definitely defense. I mean, he makes me work hard in practice every single day, and I just know what he expects from me out of practice, and it shows in the game. Like, I've definitely matured as a player.
I have seen a big change in her in the last year just from that standpoint, and she's still where she's at right now. She still has a lot of room for improvement, and that's scary.
As does the entire team, evidenced in a loss 3 weeks ago to undefeated West, when Skyview let a lead get stolen away in the final seconds.
Let's just say that I may or may not have spent a night on the rims that night. I think about it often.
That's a gut one. I mean, that was a tough one, but I think next time we play them, we're just going to want it so much more because we know what we can do.
We didn't really get brought down by it. We just took it as a lesson, not really a loss, just a lesson, and we got better from it.
Since that game, the Falcons have won 5 straight by an average of 25 points per. Think they know the rematch is Friday?
Good job. Maybe get deflection, turns into a track move.
Casey Conlon, MTN Sports.
Thanks, Casey. Tip-off set for 7 o'clock Friday night. West has won 17 straight over Skyview, spanning 9 years. Let's send it back over to Ed for a final look at the weather.
Consistently cold. That's really going to be the big story. Temperatures dropping down into the teens to single digits overnight tonight, and then staying in the single digits below zero all day tomorrow with the bitter cold wind chills to go along with it. And there's a lot more of that on the way all the way through the week. Wednesday, Thursday, a chance of some light powdery snow that'll add a little bit to what's already on the ground, more annoyance snow than anything else, and a bit of wind by the time we start getting closer to the weekend and early next week. That, well, the temperature's warm, Russ, it will also mean some areas of blowing snow.
All right, thank you, Ed. Thank you for joining us. We're back tomorrow bright and early at 5 a.m. Good night.